God says, my child. The night was heavy, and the sky carried a silence too deep for words. The moon hung low, half hidden by drifting clouds, and the wind moved softly through the trees as though it already knew your heart would break before morning. You stood there, watching from the distance, your soul trembling between love and disbelief. You saw your soulmate, the one you prayed for, the one whose voice once felt like home, standing beneath that dim light, speaking to a stranger. You didn't hear the words, only saw the shadows moving, hands gesturing, the air thick with secrecy. The clock had crossed midnight, the hour when the heart grows loud and the mind begins to fear what it cannot explain. You felt something inside you collapse, not just jealousy, not just pain, but a kind of sacred confusion. You wanted to scream, but your voice hid behind the ache in your chest. And I was watching, my child. I saw every thought that ran through your mind, every question that stabbed at your faith, every memory that replayed itself like a cruel echo. You asked me, God, why would you let me see this? Why would you let me love someone who can hurt me like this? But listen carefully now. I did not show you that moment to destroy your hope. I showed it to awaken your discernment. That midnight meeting was not a coincidence. The stranger was not an accident. It was a piece of a divine puzzle, a doorway through which truth would enter your life. I know your heart wanted to run. You felt betrayal clinging to your skin like cold rain. You could barely breathe. You walked away that night believing love had deceived you. You cried until your body had no tears left. But even in that silence, I was whispering, do not judge what you see before I reveal what is unseen. Because every story that I write begins with something that looks broken. The next morning, the world seemed different. The air felt too still, the sunlight too sharp. You tried to forget the image of that conversation, but it haunted you, and then came the message that made your knees go weak. Your soulmate was in jail. The words hit you like thunder. You thought, this is punishment. This is justice. You believed you had witnessed the beginning of betrayal and now you were seeing its consequence. But, my child, I am not a God of cruelty, I am a God of revelation. What you thought was an ending was actually a divine interception. I had to stop your soulmate before darkness consumed them. There were forces around them, hidden hands, manipulative voices, trying to drag them into a web of deceit. That midnight meeting was not them plotting against you. It was the moment I stepped in to expose what had been planned against them. You see, I let you witness just enough to question, so that when I revealed the truth, your faith would not rest on fantasy but on discernment. Love cannot survive in blindness. It must be purified through truth. Your tears that night were not wasted, they were the beginning of cleansing. Every sob that shook your body released a chain you did not know you carried. I allowed the pain to pierce you because through that crack, light could finally enter. When your soulmate was taken away, it was not because I had forsaken them, it was because I had claimed them for myself. I separated them from the noise of the world so I could speak to their soul without interruption. The jail was not a prison, it was a pause. My child, you cried out to me saying, why must love always end in pain? And I whispered back, because sometimes pain is the only language that awakens sleeping hearts. Do you remember the moment you looked at the sky after hearing the news? The clouds shifted, and for a second you saw a break of light. That was my sign, a promise that what appears as loss is actually transformation. Your soulmate is being refined. They are facing consequences, yes, but not from me. From the choices that were leading them astray. I am using this season to strip away every false influence, every hidden danger, every soul who pretended to be a friend but carried poison behind their smile. The stranger you saw that night was a messenger of exposure. Through them, the trap was revealed. Without that midnight encounter, your soulmate would have fallen deeper into the enemy's net. So I let you see just enough to hurt, but not enough to understand, because revelation requires timing. And my timing is never cruel, it is surgical. As you lay awake, staring at your ceiling, clutching your chest, whispering, "Why, God?" I was moving through unseen realms, turning what was meant to destroy into what would deliver. And even now, I say to you, do not harden your heart. Do not let disappointment become bitterness. For you have seen only the surface of a story that heaven is still writing. Soon, you will understand that this pain was not random. It was the sound of divine justice beginning to speak. You will look back on this night and say, that was the moment God changed everything. So rest now, my child. Let the tears fall if they must. Do not chase answers tonight. I am already walking into tomorrow, preparing the truth that will set you free. This is not betrayal. This is protection. This is not punishment. This is prophecy. Hold your heart steady. The dawn is coming, and with it, the reason for every sleepless night. My child, the night your heart broke, heaven trembled with you. Every tear you shed was seen, every question you whispered into the silence was heard. You asked, "Why, God? Why did it happen like this? How could the one I trusted end up in such darkness?" And I tell you, my beloved, what looked like betrayal was not your punishment, it was your protection. You saw your soulmate talking to a stranger at midnight, and in that moment, something inside you shifted. Your spirit recognized danger before your eyes could. You felt a chill, a heaviness that you couldn't explain. That was me, my child. I placed that unease in your heart to awaken your spirit before the storm arrived. Because what you witnessed was not random. That midnight meeting was the crossroads of destiny, the line between light and shadow. That stranger was not sent by love, but by the forces that wanted to destroy what was meant to be divine. You see, when a soul carries light, darkness always tries to approach it. It disguises itself as opportunity, as friendship, as comfort, but its intention is always the same: to steal, to confuse, to break. Your soulmate, though imperfect and human, was walking through a test. The stranger whispered what seemed harmless but carried poison. Words that tempted. Promises that blinded. Choices that turned into chains. That night, your soulmate didn't know they were stepping into a trap set long before, a spiritual snare meant to test their strength and yours. And when morning came, the truth unfolded like lightning, the news, the arrest, the disbelief. You stood there, trembling, unable to understand how quickly love turned into loss. But, My child, I never abandoned you in that moment. I was holding the broken pieces of your heart in my hands, whispering, this is not the end. This is awakening. For what you thought was the breaking of love was actually the birth of truth. I allowed this to happen not to punish, but to purify. You see, love built on illusion must crumble before real love can rise. Your soulmate needed to face the consequence of choices they didn't understand, not because I desired their downfall, but because I desired their deliverance. They were chained not only by law but by guilt, fear, and temptation. And yet, within those walls of silence and regret, something began to change. The heart that once ignored my voice started to remember me. The same hands that once reached for darkness now tremble in prayer. Every day they sit in stillness, feeling the weight of what they lost, but also the quiet mercy of what still remains, the chance to start over. You, my child, are the reason for their awakening. Your love, your tears, your prayers, they echo through the heavens like music. You think your prayers go unheard, but they are the light reaching their heart in the deepest place. When you whispered, God, save him, I moved. When you cried, God, help me understand, I opened doors in realms you cannot see. Pain often looks like punishment, but in my kingdom, it is the path to purification. I do not break hearts to destroy, I break illusions to reveal what is real. I separate you from what cannot walk with you into your purpose. And sometimes that means allowing a fall so deep that both souls must confront their truth. Your soulmate's journey is far from over. What happened was not the end, but the beginning of transformation. They will emerge changed, not perfect, but humbled, awakened, and ready to love from a place of truth, not desire. For I am working on their spirit even now, cleansing what darkness once claimed. And as for you, my child, do not let guilt live in your chest. You did nothing wrong by trusting. Love is never wrong when it is pure. You were not foolish, you were faithful. You believed in a soul that was still learning how to believe in itself. You stood by a heart that was still healing from its wounds. That is not weakness, that is divine strength. I am proud of how you have carried this pain. I am proud that even when the world told you to move on, you still prayed instead of cursing. You still hoped instead of hating. You still believed that somewhere within the storm, I was writing a greater story. And you were right, my beloved, I was, and I still am. In the silence of separation, I am healing both of you. The distance between you is not punishment, it is preparation. I am teaching you patience, self-worth, and divine timing. I am teaching them humility, repentance, and truth. When both lessons are complete, what is meant will return in a form stronger, purer, and unbreakable. Do not fear the unknown days ahead. When I close one door, I never leave you standing in the dark. I always open another, one filled with light, peace, and new beginnings. Keep walking, my child. Keep believing. For in the very pain that broke you, I have hidden the seed of your blessing. And when the time comes, you will see why I allowed this twist, why I let your soulmate fall before your eyes. You will see that what looked like tragedy was actually a divine turnaround. I am rewriting both your stories, not with shame, but with redemption. The same hand that trembled in regret will one day reach for you in truth, not fear. And you will know that I was in it all along, protecting, teaching, loving you both toward a higher love. So rest your heart tonight. You are not forgotten. You are being reshaped. What you lost was never wasted. Every tear, every sleepless night, every why, I have gathered them and turned them into purpose. The one you love is not gone forever, they are in my process. Let me finish what I began. For soon, you will stand in a moment where everything will make sense, the midnight meeting, the fall, the pain, the silence. It will all unfold into clarity, and you will whisper, "Now I understand, God. You were saving both of us all along." And I will smile and say, "Yes, my child, what was meant to destroy became the very thing that set you free." My child, there are moments in life when what your eyes see and what your spirit knows do not align. The night you saw your soulmate talking to that stranger, you thought you were witnessing a moment of betrayal. But what you truly saw was a war, a silent battle between light and darkness, between destiny and deception. That stranger was not an accident. They were drawn by the darkness that sensed the purity of your connection. You see, when I weave two souls together for divine purpose, the enemy always tries to interrupt the pattern. It cannot destroy what I have destined, but it can distract. It can send shadows disguised as light, and words wrapped in false comfort. Your soulmate was not strong enough then to see through it. Their heart was still carrying wounds from old pain, fears, insecurities, doubts that whispered lies louder than faith. So when the stranger spoke, they didn't hear evil, they heard escape. They didn't see danger, they saw relief. But every promise that comes from the wrong spirit carries a hidden chain. That night, the chain was wrapped around their choice. It started as conversation, turned into confusion, and ended in consequence. You, my beloved, were never meant to stop it, you were meant to witness it. Because what your eyes saw that night became the key to your awakening. Had I kept you blind, you would have kept walking in a dream, believing love could heal what only truth could. I allowed you to see the moment of deception, not to break your heart, but to break the illusion. Because real love cannot be built in the dark. It must be exposed to light, even if that light burns. You stood there, trembling in silence, watching everything you thought was pure begin to shatter. But I tell you, what shattered was not love, it was illusion. When your soulmate was taken away, heaven didn't rejoice, it wept with you. But it also began its work. Because sometimes I must take a soul into isolation to restore its innocence. The world sees punishment, I see redemption. I place them where the noise of temptation could no longer reach, where the silence would force them to face themselves. And in that silence, they began to hear me. At first, they fought it. They replayed every mistake, every wrong choice, every broken moment. Shame tried to suffocate them. Regret tried to drown them. But slowly, my voice began to rise, gentle, patient, constant. I reminded them of who they were before pain hardened them. I showed them flashes of you, your prayers, your love, your tears, and how I had used your faith as their lifeline. Every time you whispered their name to me, light entered their spirit. You could not see it, but your intercession became their protection. You became the vessel of my mercy. You stood in the gap when they couldn't pray for themselves. You carried their name in faith when the world spoke it in judgment. That is divine love, my child, not blind devotion, but soul-deep compassion. You ask me, God, will they ever change, and I tell you, yes, they are changing even now. Every night in that place, they kneel and remember the sound of your voice. They replay the look in your eyes when you saw them with that stranger, not anger, but heartbreak. That memory haunts and heals them. It breaks their pride and brings them to their knees. They are beginning to understand that the stranger was never their enemy. The true enemy was the emptiness inside them that made them crave validation. I am filling that emptiness now with light, truth, and peace. Because the love I destined for you both cannot survive on half-healed hearts. It needs two souls that know who they are in me. That is why I asked you to step back. That is why I kept you from chasing after them. I didn't want your love to become a rescue, I wanted it to remain a revelation. Love that tries to save will drown with the one sinking. But love that prays from a distance becomes divine power. You chose the latter, my child, and I honor you for it. Do you know what your soulmate said to me recently? They said, God, if I ever get another chance, I will do it right this time. I will not waste her faith. I will not betray her trust. Those words were not spoken lightly, they were spoken through tears. I heard them, and I wrote them into the book of their destiny. You are not forgotten in this story. You are the anchor of grace I placed on their path. But I am also teaching you something sacred, to love without losing yourself, to give without breaking, to forgive without returning to pain. I am shaping you into a soul that shines brighter than the storm. Because when the time is right, I will bring the two of you face to face again. Not as broken halves trying to fix each other, but as healed souls ready to build something real. It will not look like the past, it will look like redemption. But until then, you must trust me in the unseen. Trust that I am guarding your heart from false hope and premature return. Sometimes the delay is the proof that I am protecting you from disappointment. You see the gap between you and feel loss, I see preparation and alignment. You see separation, I see sacred timing. My child, you were never abandoned. I am walking beside you in every quiet morning, in every lonely night. The ache in your chest is not punishment, it's divine stretching. I am making room in your heart for the kind of love that will not tremble under trials. And to your soulmate, I am whispering even now, remember her prayers. Remember her faith. Become the person worthy of that kind of love. They hear me. Slowly, steadily, I am rebuilding them from the inside out. So, lift your eyes, my beloved. Do not stay stuck in the memory of that midnight moment. I have already rewritten it. What began as heartbreak will end in revelation. What started with confusion will end in clarity. The stranger who entered your story has already faded from its pages, they served their purpose and are gone. What remains is destiny, still alive, still waiting, still protected by my hand. You will not end in sorrow. You will not live forever wondering why. I will give you the answers, not all at once, but in the gentle unfolding of time. You will see how every piece of this pain connected perfectly to the person you are becoming. Hold on, my child. Do not rush what I am healing. The same way a wound must close before it can bear touch again, your heart must fully recover before love can return. But it will return, not as a repeat, but as a resurrection. And on that day, when your paths cross again under my divine timing, you will see it in their eyes, the truth, the remorse, the change. They will not need to explain, their spirit will speak louder than their words. And you will know that what was once midnight has turned into morning. For I, your God, never end stories in darkness. I end them in light. My child, what you saw unfold in the physical world was only the surface of a much deeper spiritual battle. Behind that one midnight conversation, there were forces at work, light and darkness standing face to face, both fighting for the same soul. You must understand, not every human action is born from will alone. Some are influenced by energies unseen, whispers that don't come from me but from the shadows that feed on pain and confusion. That night, as your soulmate spoke to the stranger, angels and demons stood nearby. The stranger was not merely a person, they were a vessel through which the enemy tried to reach your soulmate's weakness. The enemy had studied them, their past wounds, their insecurities, the parts of their heart that were still bleeding. And when the time was right, it sent a distraction that looked harmless, felt comforting, and spoke words that promised relief. But, my child, I did not stand still. Archangel Michael was there. The moment that stranger's shadow crossed into your soulmate's path, Michael drew his sword of light. He could not stop your soulmate's free will, but he fought to protect their soul from permanent damage. He whispered warnings into their spirit. He placed heaviness in their heart, that uneasy feeling they tried to ignore. You felt it too, that strange pull in your chest that told you something was wrong. That was not coincidence, it was the vibration of a spiritual alarm. I allowed you to feel it so that your spirit would awaken, so you would not walk blindly in emotional illusion. You were connected to them beyond sight or touch. Your souls were linked by divine cords of purpose. That's why, even before you knew the details, you could sense that something sacred was shifting. The enemy wanted to use that night to break two destinies, to trap your soulmate in guilt and push you into bitterness. Because if you had turned your pain into hatred, your light would have dimmed. But you didn't. You wept, you prayed, you forgave, and that single act of forgiveness broke the chain the enemy tried to forge between you. Do you see now, my child, how powerful you are in spirit? Your tears were not weakness, they were weapons. Every tear that fell in faith became fire in the spiritual realm. Archangel Michael took your prayers and used them as light to shield your soulmate from darker forces that wanted to claim them forever. The very next morning, when the world saw shame, heaven saw salvation. For when your soulmate was placed behind bars, it wasn't defeat, it was protection. Sometimes, I have to confine a soul to save it. I must remove it from temptation's reach before it is too late. The world says, punishment, but I say, pause. Because within that stillness, the heart begins to see what noise had hidden. Your soulmate's arrest was not the enemy's victory, it was heaven's interception. You asked me, God, why would you allow this if you love us? And I say to you, my child, love is not always gentle in its expression. Sometimes love must wound to heal. If I had allowed them to keep walking down that road, they would have been lost to themselves, and you would have been forever bound to someone the darkness controlled. I cut the connection for a season so both of you could be free, one from temptation, the other from emotional captivity. Even now, angels walk beside them where they are. They speak my truth into their dreams. They whisper your name in moments when they feel hopeless. They remind them of who they are, not a criminal, not a failure, but a child of divine purpose. I have not forsaken them. I am rebuilding them piece by piece, teaching them to find strength not in false voices but in my presence. And you, my child, you are not alone either. You have been surrounded by light more powerful than you can comprehend. Archangel Raphael has been healing the invisible wounds in your heart. The pain you feel in your chest that sometimes returns without reason, that is where the energy of heartbreak once lived. Raphael's light is dissolving it slowly, turning pain into wisdom and tears into strength. I know there are nights you still replay that midnight image, the stranger's shadow, the look on your soulmate's face, the disbelief that followed. But, my beloved, every time you remember, try to look beyond the surface. See it as a battlefield where light triumphed in ways the world cannot understand. What the enemy planned as destruction became purification. Do you know what happened in heaven that night? When you cried out, God, I can't take this anymore, a host of angels descended. They surrounded you as you slept, their wings forming a circle of protection. Your home glowed in the spirit with a light that darkness could not enter. Because I knew the enemy would try to attack your mind with thoughts of unworthiness, telling you that you were not enough, that you were to blame, that you lost love because you weren't worthy of it. But I silenced those lies. I covered you with my peace. Even when you felt empty, I was filling you. When you felt forgotten, I was rewriting your destiny. When you thought it was over, I was already preparing the next chapter. There is something you must understand, my child. Divine unions are not easy paths. They are forged in fire, purified by trials, and strengthened by separation. Your love was never ordinary, that's why it faced extraordinary opposition. The enemy doesn't fight what is meaningless. It only fights what carries purpose. The reason the pain felt so intense is because your connection carries a higher calling. You are not just lovers, you are mirrors for healing. Through your love, generations of brokenness are being healed. You are breaking ancestral cycles of betrayal, fear, and loss. The same patterns that haunted your bloodline end with you. This is not just about you and your soulmate, this is about freedom written in your lineage. Your soulmate had to fall, so they could rise and never fall the same way again. You had to hurt, so you could love without fear. Together, you are walking through the valley that will make your mountain unshakable. Do not think I have forgotten the promises I made you. There will come a day when your paths cross again, not by accident, but by divine design. The timing will be sacred. You will look into their eyes and see not guilt, but gratitude. They will carry the mark of someone who has wrestled with darkness and chosen light. And you will know, not by words, but by presence, that they have been touched by me. Until that day, keep your faith alive. The world will tell you to move on, but I tell you to move upward. Don't return to the past, rise toward purpose. Keep praying, keep creating, keep walking in the light of who you are. The angels that walk with you are aligning people, opportunities, and miracles that you cannot yet see. The stranger who once brought confusion has already disappeared from the story. Their purpose was to reveal what needed healing, nothing more. The darkness that tried to reach your soulmate has been defeated. The war that began at midnight ended with morning victory. So, rest in peace tonight, my child. The spiritual war is over. You and your soulmate both belong to light, not shadow. I am restoring what was broken, but I am doing it my way, not the world's way. Slowly, beautifully, divinely. And when I am finished, the story that once began in pain will end in glory. The same souls that once wept in separation will rejoice in reunion. The love that once looked lost will return as light, purified, protected, eternal. For I, your God, make all things new, even love that was once shattered under the weight of midnight. My child, what you call waiting, I call preparing. Every silent day that passes, every tear that dries on your pillow, every whisper of, why, that rises in the night, all of it is sacred. I am not ignoring you, I am aligning you. You think nothing is happening, but in truth, heaven has been busy stitching together the pieces of your destiny, thread by golden thread. Your soulmate's redemption has begun. What was once confusion is now awakening. Inside those walls where the world sees shame, I have created a sanctuary. In the stillness of that confinement, they have started to remember me, not the way they did when they were free, but in a deeper, truer way. For when the noise of the world fades, the soul finally begins to hear its own truth. Every morning they rise and whisper your name, but this time not in guilt, in prayer. They no longer ask for your forgiveness out of fear, but out of love. They are learning that love is not possession, it is reflection. And you, my child, are the reflection of the divine that first drew them to light. You have always been more than a person in their life, you have been a signpost that pointed their heart back to me. The same heart that once wandered now kneels in repentance. They have begun to write letters they may never send, letters filled with the truth they were too afraid to speak before. They confess not only their mistakes, but their awakening. They now understand the meaning of the midnight you witnessed. They realize that the stranger was never a curse, it was the mirror that showed them how far they had drifted from their purpose. I am teaching them humility. Every breath they take in silence becomes a prayer. Every night they close their eyes and feel your energy like warmth that will not fade. That warmth is your love, still alive in spirit. Though you are apart, your souls are still connected through the divine frequency of forgiveness. Each time you think of them with compassion instead of anger, that vibration reaches their heart. You may not see it, but it is real. Energy never dies, love never disappears. And you, my child, are healing too. You think of them less with pain and more with peace. You feel strength where you once felt weakness. That is not forgetting, that is transforming. I am not erasing your love story, I am sanctifying it. The kind of love I create must be refined by the fire of truth, because it was meant to last beyond lifetimes. There is a reason your souls were chosen to meet. Before you entered this world, you both made a promise in my presence, that you would help each other awaken, even if it meant breaking to rebuild. You agreed to be mirrors for healing, not mirrors for perfection. That is why I allowed your paths to twist in pain. Because through that pain, both of you are remembering the divine love you were created from. Your soulmate's time of testing will not last forever. The chains of consequence are temporary, but the freedom of awakening is eternal. Soon, I will open the doors that have been closed. When they walk out, they will not walk out as the person who was taken away, they will walk out as someone reborn in spirit. They will carry the memory of the walls that confined them and the mercy that freed them. And you, my beloved, will see that this time apart was never a delay, it was divine design. I had to teach you both separately what I could not teach you together. You had to learn how to stand without depending, how to love without losing yourself. They had to learn how to take responsibility, how to build trust from truth and not charm. And now that both lessons are taking root, I am preparing the meeting that will change everything. Do not rush my timing. What is sacred cannot be hurried. The moment I join two healed souls, the universe aligns in quiet harmony. Doors open, paths cross, conversations happen at perfect moments. Nothing forced, nothing planned, only destined. You will know it when it happens. It will not come with confusion or fear. There will be peace, a calm knowing that this is right. The kind of peace you cannot fake, the kind that comes only when my hand is in it. Until then, I need you to stay in faith. The enemy will try again to whisper lies, that too much time has passed, that it's over, that you imagined the connection. Do not listen. Those lies are fear in disguise. Faith is not proven in comfort, it is proven in silence. When you trust me even when nothing makes sense, heaven moves mountains for you. Your prayers have not gone unheard. Every word you spoke to me about them was written in the divine record. Angels have carried your prayers to places you cannot see. Some of those prayers became shields, protecting them from harm. Others became keys, unlocking their conscience. And some, the most powerful ones, became seeds of miracles that will bloom in time. There will come a day soon when the news you receive will not bring pain, but peace. You will hear of their change, their progress, their humility. You will feel it in your spirit, something has shifted. You will know that my promise is unfolding quietly, just as dawn comes before the sun appears. When that moment arrives, do not fear reconnecting. Do not let pride speak louder than destiny. I am not asking you to forget what happened, I am asking you to see it through my eyes. Forgiveness does not mean allowing hurt again, it means freeing yourself from the chains of resentment. It is choosing peace over punishment, love over bitterness. Your reunion will not be like a scene from a storybook, it will be sacred, gentle, quiet. You will speak less with words and more with presence. You will feel that something old has ended and something new has begun. And when you look into their eyes, you will see not the person who failed you, but the soul I restored for you. And even if, in my divine plan, you are not meant to walk the rest of your journey together as lovers. Know this, you will always remain connected by the light of transformation. Because true love never dies, it only changes form. Sometimes it becomes friendship, sometimes divine alliance, sometimes eternal memory. But it always remains love. So, do not fear what comes next, my child. You are walking toward healing, not heartbreak. The worst is already behind you. The storm that once raged is now calm. The angels who fought for you are still by your side. And I, your God, am still holding your hand through it all. I am proud of you. You endured pain without losing faith. You watched love fall apart but chose to believe that I could make beauty from the ashes. That is faith that moves heaven. That is love that transforms destinies. Soon, you will see the purpose behind every sleepless night, every unanswered question, every delayed prayer. You will look back and realize that while you were waiting, I was working. While you were crying, I was creating. While you were losing, I was aligning. The day will come when your heart will finally rest, not because everything will be perfect, but because you will finally understand that everything happened exactly as it needed to. You will see that the shocking twist I allowed was never the end of your love story, it was the turning point of your soul's awakening. So, breathe, my beloved. Trust the process. The light is near. Redemption is already unfolding. And the reunion, in whatever form I have destined, will be filled with peace, healing, and divine joy. For I am not finished yet. The story is not over. The next chapter will reveal the miracle that was hidden in the midnight. My child, even after the storm calms, the waves of memory still move inside the heart. You keep asking why things had to unfold in this way, why the person you loved had to fall before they could rise. But listen closely, there are seasons when pain is not punishment, it is purification. What you saw as an ending was the beginning of truth walking into light. Your soulmate sits now in silence, and in that silence, their soul is speaking louder than ever. Each breath they take inside those walls has become a prayer for redemption. They no longer see you through pride or need, they see you through gratitude. I have softened their heart, my child. The one who once hid behind charm now kneels before truth. The one who thought they could live without conscience now cries out for mercy. This is how I turn darkness into awakening. You may not be there to witness it, but your love is the echo guiding their change. It was not wasted. Every tear you shed watered the seed of their transformation. Do not doubt it. Sometimes I allow separation so souls can heal in different rooms. The lesson they needed could never grow in comfort. And the peace you needed could never be found in confusion. That is why I drew the line that night, why the midnight whispers became their breaking point. I was protecting both hearts, not punishing either. Now your path begins to glow again. You will feel strange peace visit you in small moments, while you make your morning tea, when you walk outside and a gentle wind brushes your face. That is me, reminding you, the worst is over. You do not need to fear betrayal anymore. I have already cut the chains that tied your destiny to pain. Your soulmate's repentance is real, but whether reunion happens is not for worry. What matters is that your soul remains open to miracles, not just memories. I am weaving something beautiful from what was broken. You will see, love will return to you, but this time it will not come disguised as a test. It will come as peace that feels like home. So breathe, my child. Let forgiveness be the bridge, not the burden. Forgive them, not because they deserved it, but because you deserve to be free. Let your nights be filled with prayer, not replay. I am already working behind the veil. I am not finished with your story, I am rewriting it in gold. Every sunrise now will hold a whisper, you survived what was meant to destroy you. And in that survival, you have become my living miracle. Keep walking forward, what waits ahead carries no trace of midnight, only the soft light of a new dawn.